Hi, my name is Ian Sunday. Thank you for watching today's segment of Psychological Insight. Today, I'll be talking with Dr. Robert Ham about the MeToo movement and how it affects men in today's society. So first, I'd just like to talk to you about how you got into this topic, a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Ian. I'm a psychologist here, practicing here in West Hartford Center, and I've been in practice for over 30 years here in the West Hartford area. I work with many different kinds of patients, and many of my patients are men. And so some issues have come up with some of my patients who have brought up some concerns that I thought would be valuable to the community to share.
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
So do you see in your practice, has this been a recent thing, a lot of more men coming in to talk about it, or has this been, this is the start of the Me Too movement? You've seen more people come in talk about these issues?
Yeah, I think that what's happening in the media is something that is a sign of things that haven't been discussed for a long time. So it's really important to raise our consciousness to these concerns amongst women and in our society. And I think it has a lot of men thinking. And in psychotherapy, it's really a very good way, a good forum, a channel to talk about those concerns.
Yeah. When men come in, what are their main concerns about the topic?
Well, not all men that talk about this issue come in for that purpose, but sometimes the topic comes up in the course of my work with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is the reason for coming in. So a concern may be raised about whether experiences that they've had in the past, it might have been a complaint, or that even if without a complaint, just a concern because of what's happening in the media that has brought it to their attention, and they're beginning to sort of examine themselves, their behavior in ways that it might not have occurred to them in the past.
I guess, what do you see there's a lot of benefits for the people who come in, and if it does come up in topic with you, do you see men benefiting from talking to you about it more psychologically?
Absolutely. And its benefits can be of different kinds. First of all, of course, psychotherapy is helpful because it offers an opportunity to talk about things that you can't talk with other people about. You're fearful that you might be judged, or you're fearful that information might get shared with other people, so it's not confidential.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to have just an opportunity to talk and ventilate, so to speak, as they call it. But it also has other benefits. For some people, it helps them to understand that they're not the only ones who are sharing these concerns. Certainly we see it in the media, and there are a lot of people who claims have been raised about their behaviors, celebrities, whatnot. For some, it's a relief to learn that the behaviors that they were concerned about might not have been as bad as they worried about or imagined. Others, it gets them thinking and examining their behavior, and it helps them to learn the impact that their behaviors have on other people. So it helps them to develop a sense of empathy and understanding about the ramifications of their
things they've done maybe in the past.
That's right.
Yeah. I guess, I know we talked about it briefly, but why do you think men have a harder time opening up about it if they were the victimizer or if they were a victim?
Well, there are different reasons. I think One reason, unfortunately, is that men in general
Mm-hmm.
are less willing to share things about which they feel either ashamed or concerned about. So men don't, I think, are not as open
Yeah.
to hold things in. And so, I mean, I think that that's, one of the concerns that and reasons why it's, I think, therapeutic for them to share. And a feeling of shame and difficulty in confronting this
Mm-hmm.
with other people. So, it's a challenge, and psychotherapy offers them an opportunity to air some of these concerns out in a safe environment.
Yeah. Do you see so people who come in, are they of all ages, or is it mostly a specific age group that come in to talk about this?
It's
Or it might come up?
all ages,
Yeah.
but primarily young men.
Young men. Mhm.
Or I think are especially attuned to these concerns, and
Is it just probably from social media or there's things that they see, just have more interaction with?
I think that they're probably more involved in,
Mhm.
in dating life generally,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I think it is probably a little bit more current for them.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
I guess for people who might have thought they might have been a victimizer, do you think that talking to you about this, they've seen obviously what maybe they've done wrong or thought so? Do you see that helping them? Or they feel better with themselves after talking to you about it?
Yes, I think it is helpful to get another person's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing from a therapist and another man is helpful to air out and to understand whether or not their feelings and concerns are validated or not.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, it can alleviate some of those concerns to realize that perhaps that their behaviors are not what they imagined they might be, or the impact. It helps them to examine what their motives might be in interactions with other people, and to become more empathic.
Yeah. Do you think talking to psychologists about this, do you think it's beneficial for men to helping them see? They might not understand some of their actions have such an effect on people, and do you think talking to people or psychologists might help them understand that their actions have an effect like this?
Oh yes. I mean, for some people, they're not thoughtful enough.
Right, yeah.
They are immature, self-centered, and it's unfortunate when these things are brought to their attention, sometimes by their partners or someone that they've dated. But it's a good thing in as much as it helps them to learn, how to regulate their behaviors better.
Yeah, it helps them realize what they're doing as well. Is not acceptable either, probably, to talking to about this.
Yes. For example, I think that it's important for them to examine what their motives are.
Mm-hmm.
In many instances, sexual indiscretions, sexual coercion, or going over the line in intimate relationships sometimes comes from a feeling of entitlement, a lack of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps them to develop that sense of how their behavior impacts others. For other people, it's just the opposite. They are so almost hyper-concerned and very scrupulous that these what's happening in the media with hashtag MeToo elicits or exacerbates what sometimes exists as an anxiety disorder. So it's a relief for them to learn that their behavior is not what they imagine it would be, but they are particularly affected by this because they are extremely concerned about the impact of any of their behaviors. They're just the opposite. Some people are just the opposite of others who go over the line because they're thoughtless. Some people are overly thoughtful and become very anxious, and so it helps to alleviate their anxieties
as well.
That come from a distorted perceptions of what has transpired.
Wow. Have you seen it was a hashtag, it was, so they have the hashtag MeToo, but they also have the hashtag How Will I Change? I don't know, have you seen that one as well? But it looks to be just like right off of similar to the MeToo movement.
No, I haven't.
I thought that was pretty interesting too, because it was mostly about men and how they look to change as well from this whole, from what is going on with the whole movement. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, anyway, do you see anything going on in the news right now that has an effect on what you do here in West Hartford or with your practice?
I think that what's happening has been happening in the news with various celebrities, and it seems like it just keeps happening over and over. It has, I think, again, has brought men, I think, to thinking about it. But the concern I have is that there's a lot of focus on its potential impact in the workplace and in relationships and on the victims, but not enough attention given to men who have been victimizers or who are concerned they might be. And I think that there is a lot of thought that has followed in the wake of these events that it would be helpful to bring into discussion, either in psychotherapy, seeking the services of a psychotherapist such as myself, or to form support or groups or forums for men and women to talk about these issues together.
Do you, are there other psychologists in West Hartford that have talked about the same thing, I don't know, with you or in general about men talking about their experiences? Have you heard from other psychologists talk about that as well, saying that it's important for men to come out and talk about it, however they feel about this?
Yes, I participate in a professional consultation group in West Hartford. Most of the members of that group, however, are women.
Oh, really?
And when I did share with them this idea, and they thought it would be a great idea to bring this out into the open. They felt that there was a real need for that in the community.
Something that's not really talked about, I feel. I haven't heard much about it, the other side of this, this movement. Yeah.
That's right, yes. So, you know, as I said, I think that men have more difficulty sharing these things, and also if you are a potential victimizer, it naturally would be more difficult to share these concerns for fear that you might be judged, a feeling of being feeling ashamed, and the ramifications of that. So I think it's a good place to start in counseling or psychotherapy, for example, to have someone that you can share these ideas or these concerns about in a confidential relationship with a therapist.
Yeah. You're saying it was a good place to start. I guess, how would you see if someone who does want to seek help or talk about it, I guess, what is the best path to go about it? I know you said talking to psychologists as well, but is there anything else you'd have to add or say to that, maybe for someone who wants to talk about it a little bit more?
Well, I would encourage anyone who has these concerns, whether you've been victimized or the potential victimizer, to see a therapist.
Yeah.
Or if you are in therapy, to talk with your counselor or therapist about these concerns. And certainly, I mean, a confidant, a close friend, is someone that you trust, would be another way to bring these concerns out in the open.
It's funny, we're talking about how society has changed so much in the 50-year span, or how you can look at movies in the past, and there's a lot of things in those movies that you see that nowadays it's frowned upon, it's surprising. It's funny, do you think, I guess, if society is moving at a fast pace, the way we're changing, do you think that also adds a lot of anxiety to what people are feeling about this?
Yeah, I think I'm really glad that you brought that up, Ian, because in my blog article on this topic, I talk about how society has changed rapidly in the past 50 years with regard to their social mores and ethics on how sexual behavior is judged. And I give an example in my article on that program on television, Mad Men, about the advertising industry back in the 60s, and how women are treated. When I watched that show, I mean, it's very entertaining, it's very popular, but I can't help but wince. I feel squeamish, very uncomfortable watching it, and I feel ashamed also as a man about how those behaviors, that was part of our culture, and it wasn't that long ago. It was less than 50 years ago that homosexuality was classified as a mental disorder, and not until, I think it was 1973.
Yeah. It's completely changed.
I mean, we still have, I think that we still have advances to make, but there has, the standards that we judge our behaviors by, yes, they have changed significantly. So it brings to mind how, that our standards and our attitudes, our emotions are, to a large extent, affected by the culture that we live in. And in realizing that, I would hope that it brings to mind how we should always think about what we do. So even if a culture accepts something, that we have the capability with introspection, self-examination, to judge our own behaviors, despite sometimes it goes not necessarily consistent with society's standards. Because now we look back and we see things that we did or standards, now we look at them and realize the flaws in those standards of conduct.
Do you think there's a lot of work to be done still with improving the way society looks at this for men or anybody in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what's happening in the media is it's a watershed, isn't it? So we realize that an awful lot has been going under the radar. So we've come a long ways, but this is very recent.
Yeah.
And it's necessary to bring about change. But so we're just at the beginning of this process, I think. But especially for men, to begin to not just, now men are beginning to think about it, now men need to start talking about it.
Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's very current.
Yeah. I guess, where's the practice that you have in West Hartford here, if anybody would like to go, or if you want to tell anybody else about where you work, or how anybody wants to find you?
Yes, you can find me on my website. It's robertham with 2M's phd.com, and read all about my practice. I take most major insurances. My office phone number is area code 860-236-2131. I'm located right here in West Hartford Center on North Main Street, right near the corner of, on the intersection of Farmington and North Main.
Great.
Yep.
It's a very interesting topic, and glad to talk about it. So, anyway, thank you for watching and hearing us talk about this topic that we have with Dr. Ham. So, thank you.